Welcome back, everybody. Some historic news out of Washington today. Jeremy Bernard is set to be announced as the next social secretary of the White House. It marks the first time that a man and an openly gay individual will hold that position. This is the same week the Obama administration announced a decision to no longer defend the Defense of Marriage Act. So is the United States government softening on the issue of gay rights? Dan Stone, senior reporter for Newsweek, joins me now to talk more about that. Dan, there seems to have been an awful lot of progress in 1 week. Is the tide turning in American attitudes toward gays and lesbians?
That's certainly what it seemed like for the past 2 days. You mentioned the two hot topics this week, the administration's announcement. We heard from the White House today about the social secretary. It's very much empowered those who have supported same-sex unions. What it's also done, though, is empowered those who support so-called traditional marriage, so those against same-sex unions. They've been unable to prove standing in this case, and that's what a lot of this issue is standing in federal court. So far, the administration has been the one defending the Defense of Marriage Act. Now, because it announced that it would no longer do so, proponents of traditional marriage are saying, fine, now we will, and we'll do it a lot better.
You know, Dan, the criticism from conservatives that you would usually expect, it's kind of been deafeningly silent. So why isn't this the lightning rod issue that it once was?
Well, it still is, and what we're seeing from those conservative folks who have traditionally opposed same-sex marriage, they're strategizing. We heard on the Hill that Speaker Boehner is meeting with some lawyers on Capitol Hill to figure out how he and his staff and Congress can defend the Defense of Marriage Act after the administration announced that it would no longer, and it would hold the law to a higher standard.
You know, these decisions, they do represent progress on the issues out there. The president has yet to fully reverse his stance, though, against the federally recognized issue of same-sex marriage. So is that the next step, or is that something that we'll really never see from President Obama, at least in this term?
Well, that was certainly a significant step for him. It wasn't terribly significant for the law. The real change on same-sex marriage, if a change comes, is going to come from Congress. But a lot of people expect this to appear before the Supreme Court. Until we get a change in the law, not just a procedural announcement that the administration announced this week, nothing will really change. So we're waiting for some sort of court judicial announcement.
And while I have you, I also want to ask you about the bill in Maryland, Dan, that will allow same-sex marriages in that state. So far, it's passed the state Senate, being debated today in the state House of Delegates. Do you have any sense, any insight of whether or not it's going to pass? And if it does, what that means for same-sex marriage in other states around the country?
It's likely it will pass. Maryland, of course, is often a blue state. It will pass. And it'll be the next one after Hawaii, which we heard earlier this week, allowed that as well. The tide is shifting, and many states have already allowed it. But like I said, at the federal level, when it comes to repealing the domestic Defense of Marriage Act or completely overturning it, which the Supreme Court do, that could come in the coming years. But like you said, you know, there's this landslide of states that are starting to turn that way. So it certainly is progress there.
Dan, in reference to Maryland, though, the governor there, Governor O'Malley, saying that he would sign this if it reaches his desk. He's been kind of mum on it otherwise.
Well, we don't know for sure if he's going to sign it, but if both houses pass it, Maryland is expected to be the next state that allows same-sex marriages.
We'll continue to watch. Dan Stone, great to see you today. Appreciate it.